Well, this morning we had our weekly export sales numbers, and we also had an overnight export sale. As far as that overnight variety, it was a sale of soybeans, and it went specifically to China. They didn't beat around the bush this time. They didn't mess around with that unknown category. They just said, hey, China came in and bought 132,000 tons. So that was a nice little surprise right before we got the daytime session underway. And then if you missed the weekly export sales data, we can review that for you. The corn came in at 1.06 million tons. That's combining old and new crop sales. Soybeans, 1.07 million. Soy meal, 386,600 tons. And let me jump to the wheat, 344,100 tons. One thing that stuck out to me was on the next screen, we have grain sorghum, and that was 253,200 tons. A lot of folks consider that to be a good alternative or a substitute for corn in feed rations and that sort of thing. And somebody was in there snatching up a whole bunch of sorghum last week. Let me see who the key buyer was. Yep, sure enough, China, 70,200 tons of grain sorghum last week. Let's see what the market is doing right now. Let's go to our quotes provided by Bar Chart. And well, December corn started out weaker, and now we're just a touch higher. We have December 3/4 higher at 481.5. Not a lot going on. In the soybean trade, it started out lower, and it's still lower. November down 6.5 at 1380.25. I believe that's where it was last time we checked. In the Chicago wheat, you have that December contract now a penny and a half lower at 605.5. But we put an asterisk on that one. It's well off of its earlier low by 12 cents. How's that for a little rebound today, intraday? We're now within about 2.5 cents of our high from last night. On Kansas City wheat, you have December 4 3/4 lower at 727, but here again, it has rebounded 12 cents from its earlier low this morning, coming back. Spring wheat trade in Minneapolis, December still down 10.5 cents at 769. And on the new crop cotton, December is currently trading 28 points higher at 88.16 per pound. We have the one, the only, Ted Seifried of Zaner Ag Hedge with us right now to talk about the markets. All right, so the markets are just kind of drifting along here today so far. Not a lot of sense of direction. I mean, I know it's the end of the month here, Ted, but I mean, are we into that time of year where the market may be doing that for several weeks?
Well, not only is it the end of the month, Marlon, but, we've got a 3-day holiday weekend coming up.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when we are still talking about weather at this point in time, which we very much are, we do take a little bit of a pause in front of this Labor Day weekend because we're curious to see what that forecast looks like when we come back, right? Anytime we have 3-day holiday weekends, there's always that risk that the forecast changes dramatically. People don't really want to get all positioned up in front of something like that. Traders like to go and extend their holidays and try to beat the rush out of whatever city they're in, I guess. So, not surprised that we might have some kind of quieter volume after, the first hour here today. Tomorrow could be quieter as well from a volume perspective. Doesn't mean we can't see sharp moves because sometimes in thin volume, you can really see big swings. So I'm not going to sleep on tomorrow. I'm going to definitely be watching tomorrow. You got to say, though, for all of the hubbub and excitement over the pro farmer numbers that came out after the market on Friday and the big open that we saw Sunday night and the strength that we saw Monday, we're actually trading down on the week now at this point in corn and soybeans. And so if we're going to be excited about weather, I really figured that this was the week that we had to do that. The price action has been really, really disappointing. And, maybe that's the market saying that this is too late for weather to be that effective. I know that social media and some analysts will scream until they're blue in the face that is not the case and that we are seeing a disaster unfold in front of us. The price action doesn't really buy into that, at least at the moment. Or it's paying more attention to South America, or it's now shifting its attention to demand. So we'll see. One quick note on demand to follow up on your sorghum. Yes, China does use sorghum for two things. One, when they hit their tariff quotas on corn, they use sorghum as an alternative. But one other interesting thing that China likes to use sorghum for is whiskey. China likes to make whiskey out of sorghum. So that's 70,000 metric tons of whiskey you're looking at there, Marlon.
All right, Ted, we'll talk during the break on why you know that. So anyway, we'll come back in just a minute, and Ted and I will have a little side discussion here. We'll have livestock right after this. All right, and here's something I want to run by Ted because I know he loves it, and that's the fact that oats are having another big day, and they had a big day yesterday, I believe. What is it they know? Ted, we have December oats now trading 7.5 higher at 507 3/4. March is up 11 at 521 3/4. Look at them go. And here you have December corn at 481. You don't see that very often.
No. You know what? Look at that low volume roll happening in Sep D, Sep March oats. Oh, wow. Yeah, you know, I really do think this is moving out of the Sep position. There was quite a bit of long length in that Sep position and going into split between Dec and March. Yeah, no, it's funny when you look at lower volume markets trading in lower volume environment when that spread needs to happen, how it can really move things. And some of that in corn and beans too.
They're having real problems there in Canada with production, I understand. So anyway, just wanted to throw that out there. Let's look at our livestock trade here and see what's going on in our live cattle market right now. Our quotes from bar chart. Let's take a look at the big board, which is 32 higher on October. We're at 180.37, so it's kind of hanging in there, a little higher today. And feeders are doing the very same thing. You have September now 30 cents higher at 252.92. And heck, they're all about 30 to 37 cents higher across the board there. And if you look at lean hogs, can they pull a rabbit out of the hat again? Nah, they tried to go higher for a little bit, and then they kind of flamed out. You have December now 5 cents lower at 75.05, but they did get up to 75.62. So I think they kind of ran out of gas, at least temporarily anyway. Yeah. Ted, great to talk with you. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Ted Seifried of Zaner Ag Hedge with us from Chicago.